Alright, so we're on the Thursday items for week 7. And before we get into the items, I just want to again give you the heads up on the ending of this class, okay? And my timing and your timing. So Project Zero is due on October 11th, okay? And I will be traveling that day. I will leave the morning of October 11th. So if you want to talk to me, have me look at your work, you want to see me before Thursday. Now you could see me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but not Thursday. So keep that in mind as you're looking at the schedule, because whatever I see when I come in on the morning of the 12th, because I actually will need to grade while I'm in New York, which is fine with me. That's the benefit of the flexibility that I have, is that I still need to do my most important job, which is you all, right? So I just want to keep that in your heads. So scrolling back up, week 7, we only have week 8 and 9. So really there's 2 weeks left. Okay, so this is really that crunch time, right? And we're doing something, again, based on which template you chose, that, you've selected your level of complexity because of the design. So this is when you really get to reach out for help if you need it, because understanding how to modify that design is obviously how well you can create your Project Zero. Because we're really standing on giants here. It's like HTML, CSS, having that basic knowledge, laying on top of that bootstrap, which is a framework, and then laying on top of that, which is a template, which is somebody's interpretation, or somebody's creation of a UI UX, like a user experience, user interface, basically a web design in this case, because UI UX actually has much deeper meanings, but the same idea of what the site looks like, right? And you've chosen it because you like the way it looks, but you also want to modify this site. So in my last video, I was playing around with how I could do this, right? So I'm actually going to come back to that. I'm going to hold that topic just for a minute because I want to get through the content that you have for this week and then get into that. So this week you have kind of like 2 little mini lectures on really big topics. So CMS, Content Management Systems. Now I've only selected 2 here. And what I mean by that is I have a video that I found that I think is pretty good called WordPress versus Squarespace. But the reason I say the caveat here is that there are other CMSs out there, many. These are just 2 of the most common. Like WordPress is very popular. Last statistic I heard, it's around 30% of the web. So the chances of you seeing a WordPress site in your career is really, really good. And as a matter of fact, in prior semesters, that's what our Project Zeros were based on, was WordPress. But I decided over the years, it's just better to give you the experience that we're having here. So in this case, this video, 22 minutes, 26 minutes long, you need to take notes over the whole thing, right? And again, I think this is just good to give you an overview of what these 2 CMSs are. And the benefits and pros of both. Now, one thing that kind of gave me a little bit of I want you to know this, right? When I selected this, I look at a couple things. How much has it been viewed? This is a decent amount. And then I look at who writes it. So in this case, if I look at this and go winning WP, winning WordPress, my thoughts would be this is going to be a little skewed. So I actually watched it and I'm like, okay, it's not skewed as I thought it would be. It really, I think, laid out some good cases. And the thing is, depending on the use case of the user, what you're trying to accomplish for them, there might be one or the other or something else. Like I know some people that use Wix. Wix is another, what I would call a web-based CMS. And he definitely does a good description, I think, in describing the differences between the way you use these things. But just to say what I need here is I want you to watch all this video, create a new file, CMS MD, and we may add to this later if I have time, because there's just more we could talk about. And this one is smaller. This one is 13 minutes. But what I really like about this, and again, different file here, okay, should be in your private repo. Right, so when you give me a link, just give me a link to the lectures and then I should see these 2 files setting in there. This one is good because it introduces the idea of the 5 ways to put payments on your site. We still need to talk about how the flow of those, and so you'll have something probably next week on that. But I think this is a good start and introduction to these 2 really important topics. So that's your lecture for this week. And then and I'm going to actually start walking you through here. You have a hands-on, which is going to be the most of what I talk about today, and then just talk about images on the web. So I've linked here an article, and it's a good one that really gives you this beginning. Depending on your knowledge here, you will have more or less understanding of these images, right? So it's choosing the right image format, optimizing these images. And for our purpose of this course, you're going to at least need to have some images because you need an image on every page. But I want to give you at least that beginning understanding of images on the web, lossy, lossless. Up here talking about these are JPEGs. How they are different from what's called SVGs, what different encoding that we do, really how we make that thing optimized for the web, how we lose pixels basically. And so this is a great, read the whole thing, okay? And then a basic skill you need to have about this is how to take an image and either resize, and I'm going to have you do all three. First, you look at the original, and you'll want to upload these into your public repo, and then embed them in your reply. Okay. So let me just walk you through. So what I did is I found an image I wanted to do this with, and when you're using images on the web, there's definitely because we're an educational we're doing things for an education purpose, you have more flexibility on copyright. But what's best to do is, if you can, is use your own images if and when possible. Okay, so in this case, I decided to go ahead and download, and I downloaded an image. And this file name, I can know now where it comes from because I've seen them enough. But if I look at the URL, actually I can tell this is a Facebook. This is where it came from. So if I find that image, it's like, oh yeah, there it is. So first, find an image you're going to want to modify. And what I like to do is, before I do anything, right, large underscore RW, real, large real. So this is a JPEG format. I've changed the file name. Now, for me on my Mac, I could do this, actually, all this workflow locally. But I can't guarantee that all of you have some kind of local thing, and you can use whatever you want. I don't care as long as you can do the following to that. And I'm going to use Pixlr, pixlr.com. I'm going to open up the editor. Be a little careful here. Sometimes it may look like you have to load something. You don't. Or you have to get a paid part of this. You don't. You just have to see ads. So I'm going to open an image from my computer. I'm going to go to that download. I'm going to find that image that I just renamed. That's the other benefit of having that image that I just renamed, right? And I can tell the pixel size here, 640 by 960. I'm only looking at 50% of this, right? Again, if you use something else, that's fine. I'm just showing you, if you use this one, just some basics here. So I want to do, first, that's my original image, right? That's it. And then what I want to do is a resize and an edit. So when you upload these, you'll have 3 of these images. So the first one I might want to do is I have by default the crop tool, right? So what I could do is it's like I only want like a headshot here, and I like the background on the wall. That's nice, and maybe I'd want to try to even up, right, the idea, right? So I want to do that. So this is this is a crop versus a resize, and I'll show you a resize in a second. So if I actually just click this again, yeah, it'll apply that. So then I have an image here of just a headshot, right? So file, then save. Right, now at this point, what I could do is, instead of putting them in that original location, which I could move that original file, because I'm going to end up having 3 of these. And by the way, we could see the difference in the file size. It's 77 here. I didn't show it, but we could look at it, what it was originally. But now that I click OK here, what I'm going to be taken to is the same location where I got it from, but I'm going to actually end up putting it in my course. Let me find it here. There it is. Right in this directory. Oh no, sorry. In the public. Yeah, I'm glad I saw that. And now in images, right? And so I'm going to name this one, and this is good to do, is like, this is the crop, right? I'm sorry, yeah, this is the crop one, right? So this is just a crop of the original one. There we go, boom. And by doing this, now when I open this in the editor in a minute, I'll already have that, okay? So do that, good. All right, so now one thing I could do is actually I could just do an undo here and go back to the original image, right? And now, like, let's say I needed a smaller version of this, so I'm actually going to do a crop and a resize together. So let's say I wanted to do, I wanted to cut off the bottom part. This was a photo that somebody did when I was judging 59 Days of Code. But let's say I like that, so I'm going to go ahead and do a crop of that. But now I'm going to do a resize. Like I need a smaller version of this. So I'm going to go image, right? I'm going to go image size. And then I'm going to make, and this is important, right? So what happens is if you change your top number, the second one changes proportionally. And most of the time you want that. You want to constrain those proportions. Cool. So that's an image I could use somewhere on the site. So I'm going to do File, Save again. So this one would be maybe my small, right, crop, resize, right? And then I would have my original one. So again, the nice thing, at least on my system, and I think even on Windows, it goes back to the same location as I was at before, so I don't have to navigate there. So that's my second one. And then I could do, like, here's my original one. So I could just do, and this is where, let me just say this. Oh, save. This is where you could do some optimization here, right? So remember, see, this original file size was 122, right? So by cropping it, I make it smaller. By resizing it, I make it smaller. But I can also, and this is where you optimize it to where you get the most optimal image without really having too much what we call artifacts show up in that original image, okay? To where it's clear that you've optimized it. Like if I was to be even down here, right? Oh, sorry. These are, oh, actually you can see here the size relationship to the quality. So the higher the quality, the bigger the file size. The lower the quality, the lower the file size, but then you have to look at the way it looks on your page, right? So I'm going to leave it like here. But I just want to introduce these concepts of cropping, resizing, and optimizing. Your whatever you use, if you use this or if you use something else, you know, I just want you to be introduced to these concepts because you're going to need to at least have a basic knowledge when we go to do this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do original, okay, and I'm going to do optimized, okay. And this is not the best file name. I'm just going to tell you, but at least this tells me by looking at the file names what those are. So now I have all three of them, right? So then in the reply, what I would do is once I open them in my editor, I would complete, let's go to, this would be public. If I put them in the right spot, I should now have 3 new files sitting out there. Is that public or I think I opened up private, so let me try it again. So let's go public. So in this case, I should have in that images folder, unless I put them in the wrong place, which I could have, like that totally could have happened. And the way I could tell is actually here. So I got to move those. Let's see where I did put them. And this is oftentimes, like, I'll go back to it and then I'll go, oh, images, and I can go here. Oh, sorry, I'm already there. I can go, what folder was this in? I thought it was in public. Images. Oh, they're there. Okay. I did it right. Why aren't they here? Oh, I'm in the public for a different class. That would do it, right? So what I'd want to do is that's what happens when you have more. And by the way, I'm guessing we've all done that because when you have more than one directory, man, is that fun, right? So in this case, it's here. So I'm just going to open, actually what I generally do is I actually click here and then just open the folder. So then I can see those images, right? So then what you want to do is do the workflow. So I see that I have added these 3 images into my repo. So I do the workflow And then what I want you to do is in your reply to this one is to actually embed those and talk about, you know, what you're going to be using, how much image experience you have, if any, which is fine if you don't have any. At least I've taken 15. I know I have my students resize images, so you know, hopefully some of this, and most of us have something we've done related, but if you haven't, talk about that or whatever part of this work. But I definitely want you to read this because this is going to be helpful, and you can definitely talk about, and that'd probably be the best thing to talk about in this case, is how much of this is new for you. Because these are, I think in this article he even talks about how much of the web is images. And I was like, oh, 65% of the content on the web is images. So, way important topic. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do now that took a little longer than I thought, but I think it's worth that level of detail, is I think I'm actually going to stop and do a video just for this one. I think that warrants one by itself. So when you're looking through here and you've done the instructional video, just know there'll be another one just for this one because it does require a little more discussion. All right, talk to you later.